Good evening, I'm Maciej Mikos and you're watching World Talks. Only hours separate us from the most consequential vote of the decade for the entire region. On Sunday, the Hungarians will choose their next parliament. Will the opposition win, or will Viktor Orbán emerge victorious once more? To talk about it, we're joined by István Hegedűs, chairman of the Hungarian Europe Society. Good evening.
Good evening.
So Hungary has attracted lately the attention of, the better part of politicians from all continents, if I might say so, as they have been supporting either Viktor Orbán or Péter Magyar from the opposition TISA party. Now, what is at stake for Europe and Ukraine tomorrow?
Well, it's really, a decisive moment for Europe, not only for Hungary. I agree that it's maybe the most important election in the last 20 years since the election after the regime change. So, yes, in case Viktor Orbán remains Hungary's prime minister, we can expect a anti-Ukrainian, pro-Russian, anti-EU political line to be continued, whilst in case the main challenger, Péter Magyar, becomes prime minister first time, then there will be a real political change. And it means that Hungary, the Hungarian government, would adjust to the European mainstream, will hopefully support Ukraine, maybe not exactly how some pro-Ukrainian countries do, but in general, it will lose its pro-Russian stance. Definitely, it will change it. And in general, there won't be any cooperation between strongmen within Europe, far-right leaders and far-right parties. And of course, Hungary would not become a sort of lightning house, special bastion of Trumpism within the European Union.
Maybe Slovakia will become one then. Now, I'm wondering how deeply is rooted the ruling Fides party into the everyday life of Hungary after these long 16 years in power, and who are its most prominent representatives?
Yeah, there are some politicians beside Orbán who can represent the party, whilst at the moment, if you ask whether they have any famous, intellectuals or celebrities, they have some people from the popular culture, mostly speaking a language what the elite does not speak, but they have lost support in general in all strata of the Hungarian society. So it's not only the original elite of the Hungarian society which supports the opposition, or not only people living in the cities, but or not only very young people, but in everywhere there seems to be a real change. And it seems to be that the majority of the Hungarians, whether they live in small villages or in the towns, they are fed up with this Orbánist political line. So at the moment, you cannot say anymore who supports him. Even some very rich billionaires just recently stepped down and joined intellectuals, analysts, journalists who have criticized the Orbán regime for many, many years. It seems to be that there is no second guard behind some Orbánist politicians. So I think there will be a real shift in the mood in Hungary, in also regarding everyday life, that hopefully this sort of fear of the external threats, whether these are migrants or Ukraine, will disappear, and there will be a much less polarized society here in Hungary, and maybe a better life.
Well, then on the other hand, who's leading the opposition apart from Péter Magyar? Now, the question is whether TISA has the right people to build a competent government with.
Exactly. They are very new, and we know some people who, in the last month, have joined the party and became the experts and probably candidate ministers. They are not called like that, but I think Anita Orbán, for example, who is not a relative to the prime minister, might become foreign minister, and a diplomat who is well known for her pro-European and pro-Atlanticist opinions and values. And also there are some economic experts who have joined the party. So there might be a new start with some people who are talented, who know a lot, who are experts. And it means that Péter Magyar's government has some chances to change the course, to change the situation, the state of the Hungarian economy, and to catch up both in terms of economics and culture and politics.
How transparent is the election process in Hungary, and can the opposition be absolutely sure that the vote won't be rigged?
Well, at the moment, there are more TISA candidates, TISA people in the committees which count the votes locally. So it will be very hard to cheat in the local constituencies when the votes are counted. And there will be others who will go out. There is a movement, a civil movement with people who will go to villages to check whether there is anybody who tries to influence the votes of the poor people in small villages. So I think that the control is much stronger than 4 years ago. And 4 years ago, although there were some irregularities, actually Orbán won the elections. And in case this time the opposition, Péter Magyar's party, would win by 10%, let's say, it would be very hard for anybody, for the government, to say that the opposition cheated. Nobody would believe it. If the margin is very small, then maybe Orbán can argue that there were some irregularities. But in general,
But will the margin?
We expect.
But will the margin be small? Has Viktor Orbán mobilized his base?
Probably not. Probably the margin will be wide enough to say tomorrow evening around midnight who is the winner. But of course, I'm not sure to say that. And just in the very last hour, I received a message from the Government Information Service accusing the European Commission that it wants to ban what they call a protected price for petrol, which means that there is a price cap since a month, more or less. And the government accuses again Brussels that they want to take away the money of the Hungarian people. Well, whether these last-minute propaganda actions matter or not, I guess they do not matter anymore, because most of the people know it very well what sort of messages they have received in the last years. But you never know, and yes, if the margin is small, then we don't know exactly whether the government would accept a small TISA victory. If it's big, then I think the decision was made by the people.
But it also shows that the government, the current government, is absolutely dedicated to holding on to power. Now, if the opposition wins, do you believe that there will be a totally peaceful transition of power in Hungary?
I think so. That's maybe the number one scenario. It's very unlikely that after the elections, the government would try to use, sort of violence against the outcome. It's still not Belarus. It's a different country. There might be some provocations, but it's maybe too late to say that the opposition rigged the elections. And I think the Orbán government has a different strategy in case they lose the elections, that they want to come back, just like it happened with Trump. who is another strong man, and Orbán admires Trump, or maybe the Polish right-wing extreme radical parties might come back sooner or later. So I think at the end, Orbán would accept the outcome, even if it won't be easy for him.
Let me then reverse the question. Let's say that Viktor Orbán's party wins. Do you think that the opposition, which is absolutely mobilized now, we can observe it, we've been observing it for the last few months, as a matter of fact, do you think that they will just calmly accept the outcome of the elections?
It's a very good question. And of course, I don't know the answer, because there is such a hope in the air that after 16 years there will be a regime change, how Tisza calls the change of government, and the Orbán regime should collapse. And if it's not the outcome, there might be people who might not accept and it's easier for the opposition to believe in the outcome which would prefer them, and saying that Orbán has cheated. So it's a very good question. I think that the opposition the party Tisza would accept the outcome, but whether its camp would accept it so easily, I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Now, the last question would be, what is the opposition really fighting for? And is regular victory that gives them the ruling majority enough? Or do they aim a bit higher for the constitutional majority?
Exactly. The objective of Tisza party is to win by a two-thirds majority, which means that you can change the constitution. And just today at a rally in Debrecen, the second biggest city of Hungary, Péter Magyar talked about the rule of law, constitution, checks and balances, that they want to have a new constitution after the election. But at the end, there should be a referendum. It should not be a one-party constitution, what we have today when Orbán changed the constitution, and now it's called the basic law. So yes, these issues have been raised in the campaign, and if Tisza gets a two-thirds majority, then hopefully they will fulfill their promises. If not, the situation might be much more complicated, how to reconstruct liberal democracy and rule of law in Hungary. Then we will face a conflict with a lot of other institutions which might remain under the control of the Orbánist and loyalist people to Fides.
We'll learn all the answers to our uncertainties tomorrow. István Hegedűs, chairman of the Hungarian Europe Society, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
And thank you for watching, and stay with us for more interviews here on TVP World.